Hello, I'm Bill Lolos. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Skooks. For those who don't know us, Skooks is in some terms is a learning and talent development platform being used by companies and organizations all around the world. We started with my fellow co-founders, Lefteris Vanoglu and Kostas Vasiliou, 10 years ago from here, Thessaloniki, Greece. And now we have more than 2,000 customers, 7 million active users, and we are about 250 employees in Greece and United States. Currently, 100 of us are engineers, members of our technology team. When I was asked to come and talk today, I was trying to figure out the presentation. I could say how awesome we are, how successful we've been, but that would probably bore you. So I decided to talk to you about the challenges and the experiences that I found out all those years, the last 15 years being a co-founder of Skooks. Basically, I'm not a public speaker, so bear with me on that. Keep in mind, I'm not a hard CTO. I'm not a non-technical co-founder, so Skooks is like my child. This is my experience. As a disclaimer, I hope it helps. It's a small presentation, 3 slides, 9 bullets, and 15 years. So when we started Skooks, I didn't know much. I was straight out of my internship. I hadn't even my degree at that point. But development was running my blood. I still code. So who knew what a startup was in 2012, right? And much before that. So how do you start? I started mostly in blind. I had to improve my coding skills. Key press by key press. I had to read books. We didn't have Google and Stack Overflow. They didn't exist there. We didn't have libraries, frameworks, Angular, Laravel, you name it. It was the old days. I had to figure out most of the things down the road. At one point, we had to move from a single server in Germany. It contained the PHP, the MySQL, everything in the same server, and we moved to AWS Cloud. But who knew what AWS is and who worked with AWS back then? Of course, we didn't have any dedicated DevOps team. We do now, but we didn't then. And full stack was the only way that we knew back then. So we did it the hard way, and we made it. Especially before our first investment in 2012, the first million that we got, our financial and human resources were pretty limited. Most of the startups are at that phase, right? With no real money. You will have to do anything and everything, not just you, everyone in the company. Once we were able to hire, most of our engineers were interns or junior developers. Most of those interns are still in the company. They've escalated the ladders. They are now directors. And since you are the CTO and the co-founder, everyone expecting more and most from you. You are the only one they know and rely on. I was designing, implementing, getting in calls with customer IT. I was basically in that call the Bill, a developer, right? You cannot tell that the CTO is bug fixing your bug, right? You have to stay up at night, keeping an eye on the dashboards, to hotfix a bug, to restart a service. You don't have SREs, you don't have on-call developers for that. I didn't sleep much. At that early years, at least, it wasn't easy. In the beginning, I didn't know our limits and the vision was not real clear to me, right? What we are going to achieve in the next years. The product changed every single day. We were changing, honestly, every single day. Back then, Lefteris and Kostas moved to Silicon Valley to search for investors. They were the years where everything was pitched like the elevator pitch. We thought about that. It isn't. So they came every single pitch with new ideas, with new feedback from investors, and we were changing the product every single day in here in Greece, in Thessaloniki. And finally, we got our first million. We were just 3 guys from Greece. We only had $3,000 in the bank left that month. In 2015, Subway, the biggest franchisee company in the world, signed with us to deliver training to their 500,000 employees. That's 500,000. You have to think about and grasp it for a while. And basically they signed with a startup with 10 developers, basically not 10 developers, 10 members in Thessaloniki. And it was our biggest customer until then, had only 100 stores. I didn't even know if we could pull it through. Keep in mind that we are a multi-tenant system. We are jeopardizing all of our customers in the same time, and we didn't need such a scale before. The launch was great. Subway is still with us the last 7 years. I couldn't even grasp the size and the meaning of Subway back then. For me, it was just data, gigabyte of data, had to migrate and provision, and many, many features to implement. I'm still trying to make my team to understand what our customers really mean, right? Most of them, they are not really known in Greece. A funny internal store that we have, and we use it when we onboard people, is that back then we had a drop-down. We were showing the stores of a customer, but for some reason in Subway's Academy it didn't load. Basically, the browser was crashing. We found out that when we were trying to load the drop-down with 45,000 items, that's how many stores they had. After that, we started to lazily load everything across the platform and taking into account the scaling. If you're able to pass that hard phase and you have started gaining more and more customers and more investment, your team should be getting bigger and bigger every year. As we were reaching that milestone, I had to start transitioning to the CTO role, at least try. Up until then, I was basically the head engineer. Now I had to move from that to more of an engineering manager. This point is where you really appreciate your past managers. Being a manager is really hard. You'll find out. I shouldn't have to keep coding as I used to. I code even today, as I said, but remember, I'm still a co-founder. I have more responsibilities to our investors, stockholders, and our employees than a typical CTO. There are families behind my team, and my decision and actions can really affect them. It's shocking when you realize it. It's a tipping point. As you move away from keeping my hands dirty and probably losing the control I had until then, I had to trust more of my people. And remember, it's my child, so I didn't, and probably I won't ever feel easy to leave it first day at school, right? In the early stage, Lefteris had to do all the training as he was much more experienced on it. But now, as the company is getting bigger and bigger, I had to do the hiring process, at least for my team. And hiring is hard. I found out firsthand. You have to see if a person is a good fit for the company, or at least a good-to-be engineer. And they have to match the company's DNA as well. Hiring also means that I'm responsible for promoting and giving raises. I mean that I have to fire people. It's one of the hardest things I ever done. And for some cases, I should have done it earlier. So as we kept getting bigger and more successful, we started attracting more VCs, and they brought a whole new space to me, due diligences. I've been through the process a couple of times. You won't really be ever fully ready for those, especially the first time. It's an uncharted territory for you. You have to be perfect. I didn't want to basically fail the investment because of our stack, our processes, and be the one to blame, right? They are a great school though, and it helped me pinpoint loopholes. We fixed a lot of stuff. Because of them, I didn't sleep much on those. There was huge straits, but we made it. In the last one with Vista Equity Partners, they even searched my driving license records. Keep that in mind, right? We are entering the phase that we are trying to establishing our company. We're growing and we're establishing our name in the industry. We're making more impact right now. We're winning more customers, again, biggest competitors, and that means the ball is hotter, and we're attracting more attention than before. Up until now, even though we had technical processes, we didn't have a lot of management processes in the tech team. We didn't need to. As I used to say, we are agile without following an agile methodology. And that was what made us enter the market of United States and against the biggest names in the world. But now we need to expand our scaling, so we need to bring more processes, at least on the management level. As a CTO, you have to identify and design those new processes missing in order to improve the product by improving the communication and delegation of your work. Each new process may cause friction. It's not easy to bring new processes in an established team, and you have to handle it. The past years, we moved from full stack development to separating the divisions in backend, frontend, QA, DevOps, and IT. We saw the new, we saw the need for management in a higher level, and we created business units consisted by backend and QA engineers as of now. We're establishing new job roles, and we are expanding the career ladder. As you may recall, in the first slide, I told you that we've started with a single server containing everything. Now, in a normal day, we are handling a swarm of servers supporting thousands of current users. That comes with a heavy burden of budgeting, monitoring, and handling a huge bill every month, thousands of dollars. I have to keep a balance between the performance and the cost. A bad decision may cost thousands of dollars or affect our latency and uptime. A CTO, more than anything else, an engineer, an architect, a manager, is basically a leader. And I have realized it more than ever now. Your word has weight, and it doesn't only come from you. It comes from one of the most established positions in your company's org chart. As a CTO, you represent yourself, your team, and your company as a whole. Be a role model for those around you and keep coaching and mentoring. It's hard to be a co-founder CTO. This is my personal experience. That was what I wanted to tell you. But the journey is fun, and it's far from over. So this is from me, this is my experience. Thank you very much for your attention.